Good afternoon. I thought I'd make myself comfortable. I'm going to sit here and relax while you just, have a little nap afternoon. Well, it is always good. First of all, it's so wonderful to see all these like-minded people being here, isn't it? Wonderful speakers and great guests coming from all over, and I think it's just so wonderful. So you should give yourself all an applause for just being here. I mean, it's just great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Reiki, like we all do. What the? And I think that's what most of the other speakers said. We all have different ideas, and one idea is not better than the other. It's just maybe a different perception. I always see it like this. If we look at this bottle, we can see it from all sorts of different perceptions. We can look at the top and say, well, the bottle is blue. But if we turn it around, transparent. If we look at it and we say, well, actually it says Mount Everest. And if we look at the other side, then it doesn't say anything. So often when we look at different angles, we get different perceptions. And I think the practice of the system of Reiki is helping us to see all the different perceptions. So open our mind so that we can see and rediscover all these different perceptions. I like talking about Reiki, but probably, again, you all fall asleep. Or you could read one of our books, but you also fall asleep. So we're going to also do a bit of playing, particularly after lunch, when you had your lunch and those little chocolate desserts were really good. I'm not sure if you had those. They were good, right? So for me, the word Reiki really means your true self, your inner great bright light. And in Reiki 3, there is a symbol and a mantra, or you can say kanji, doesn't matter. And if you literally translate it, it means a beautiful, great, bright light. But most of the time, we see that this light is very external, because this is how we kind of are being brought up. Everything is external. But ultimately, this is your inner light. It's your inner love and compassion. And what was wonderful when Paul Mitchell asked to write down, and some people were asked, what did you write down? I could hear love and compassion and kindness. In one word, if we talk about what is Reiki, we can say Reiki is compassion. It's actually so simple. But often we like to make it very complicated because we're very complicated human beings. We have these complicated gadgets and, So this is why I have this light here. This is your innate great bright light. But what do we normally do when we grow up? What do we do with this light? We cover it up, right? A layer of anger, a layer of worry, a layer of fear, a layer of not being grateful or not being compassionate or not being true to our way and our being. And what happens suddenly to this light? It looks like it extinguished because it's still light. So sometimes in our life, we bury that light with shit, right? All this crap we put over the top of it. And then we feel, God, I feel really sad, I feel depressed, I feel angry, I feel worried. But this light, no matter how many layers we put over it, is always beautiful and always bright. And I think this is something we have to remember for ourselves. It's not that we accessing more Reiki. It's actually laying bare what we have already, what is our birthright, this beautiful bright light. Now what happens if I take, say here's another layer, what happens if I take this layer away? You shine. If I would take this whole thing apart and we just see the light, right? What happens to this light? More brighter. But actually, the light itself didn't become brighter, right? It looks like it becomes brighter. So the more we practice for ourselves, We practice the system of Reiki. And for me, practice is not just hands-on healing. For me, practice is focusing on the precepts and meditating with the precepts, breathing practices like Joshin Kokyoho, meditating with the symbols, chanting the mantras, of course, hands-on healing on ourselves and others, and the initiation as a spiritual practice. So when we practice those 5 elements, we're peeling these layers away, and it feels like suddenly, oh, my Reiki is becoming stronger, or my light shines brighter. But in fact, it's not really becoming stronger. It just feels like it. It's like this light. It's always strong. It's always bright. It's always beautiful. It's always compassionate. If I take this lamp apart and I put my hand closer to the light, what do I feel? Heat. If my friend feels uncomfortable and I give them a hug, does it feel cold or hot or warm? It's warm, right? It's the warmth of compassion. It's the heat of compassion. So the more we lay bare this beautiful, great, bright light, and this is the light of our true self. We can call it all sorts of things, like Mrs. Takata, God, essence, or in one of her teachings, I think it's in the Grey Books, he says the true energy, or whatever word we use, our soul, our essence, it doesn't matter, spirit. For me, I resonate with the word true self. So when we open this up, we lay bare the true self, and that true self emanates heat, it emanates compassion. It's not that we have to become more compassionate. No, we just have to lay bare that compassion. What else does this light need? What's that again? Power source. Electricity. If I switch it off here, there's no electricity, the light goes off. So you all know that when you have to do hands-on healing on yourself, or you do some of the meditation practices, or you meditate on the precepts, we maybe start to feel more energy. Because light and energy go hand in hand. One cannot be without the other. So if I lay bare my true self, my inner beautiful bright light, I will come across energy. I will come across compassion. That makes sense? Sometimes people say, oh, but compassion is very different than energy. But it's like water and wetness. We cannot separate wetness from water, right? The inherent quality of water is wet. The inherent quality of your beautiful bright light is energy, is compassion, is kindness. And this is also what Mika Sui pointed out in the precepts. And it doesn't matter how we translate it. There's lots of different translations. And again, one is not better than the other. It's just a different way of translating the precepts. But for me, therefore, the future of Reiki, or actually the future of the world, is compassion. Right? If we look outside, the world is not in a happy place. I don't come often to Sydney. I live in the Blue Mountains. For the people who don't know, it's about 2 hours drive. It's very quiet. I used to live on a dirt road, but they have now put some bitumen on it, what is great, because the car likes it better. So I hide there, and then I come here. And I was playing tour guide for one of the other speakers, Kathleen Prasad. I often teach in the US, and she takes me around San Francisco when I teach her. So I thought, okay, I'll do the same. God, it's like a madhouse in Sydney, right? You go, and an hour later you go, I think I need to sit down somewhere. And also, what is so obvious is that so many people walk around like this, full of anger and worry and fear, right? So healing for me is therefore not just hands-on healing. healing goes so much deeper. If I walk downtown Sydney, I cannot go to everybody and say, excuse me over there, and do hands-on healing on everybody, right? I will be arrested. Or someone gives me a good punch, and then I also will be arrested. But I can walk around as a beautiful bright light. If I take these layers away, what else happens to that light? Someone said it already, brighter, but what happens with this brightness? It starts to expand, right? So the more I peel my layers away, the more this light starts to expand. And suddenly, you might sit in a cafe and you're just being Reiki, and you emanate that light through the cafe, and suddenly someone enters that cafe who's not feeling that well and go, oh, I suddenly feel a little bit better. Of course, you're not going to say, excuse me, that was me, right? That would be a bit strange. So, in the Reiki 3, there's also a symbol and mantra, as I said before. It means great bright light. And if you pull that kanji apart, you come across the symbolic representation of the sun and the moon. And I love that because the sun is just shining. But we all take from the sun whatever we need, right? Some people, they're going to stand naked and go like, yes, oh, this is so good. Downtown Sydney, I did that yesterday. Don't worry, the photos will be soon up. It's the next slide. And but other people say, well, no, I actually going to just wear my bathers. And some other people just say, well, actually, I carry an umbrella. And other people might say, I'm going to stand in the shade. I'm going to sit inside. But we have a choice. Shall I stand in the light or shall I not stand in the light? So hands-on healing, for me, is just a small tip of the iceberg of the system of Reiki. Because the system of Reiki, as we can see, within the precepts, and this is why I love the precepts. Do not anger, do not worry, be grateful, be true to your way and your true self, show compassion to yourself and others. It's all about a state of mind. Or in other words, it's about a state of mind and heart. It doesn't say, put your hands on yourself. It doesn't say, do a treatment on someone. It doesn't say, chant a mantra. It doesn't say, receive an initiation. This is all about the mind. And why do you think it's about the mind? What covers this all up? Right? Our state of mind, our confused state of mind covers up the great bright light. So the more we calm the mind, oh, here is my light. So for me, I think Mikusui, when he introduced people to the precepts, he thought, bloody hell, that is really difficult, right? I travel a lot, so I teach in Europe and the US. And the other day, I came at an airport at like 5 in the morning. It was a very small airport. And I look at the signs, and I go, well, my plane is not there, but maybe I'm a bit too early. Let me go and get a cup of tea. So I got a tea, still no plane there mentioned. So I see the one counter of United. As it was a very small little airport. And no one there. So the next person does like a little counter of Air Canada. And I said, oh, when is the United person coming? Oh, at 3 this afternoon. And I go, what? My flight is at 7. She said, show me your ticket. So I showed the ticket and she goes, oh, that flight only goes in service in 3 months' time. But what was good, I'd just been teaching in Canada, so some other people arrived at the airport who had to take different flights. And so we were laughing and joking around. And so the woman said, oh, we have a deal with Air United, so I can get you on maybe on an Air Canada flight to wherever you need to go. So it took her 45 minutes to work out. Now, I have a choice, right? It's not necessarily that I'm going to stand there and say, okay, hang on, I'm a little bit pissed off with this. Right? I could. But I could just connect to the precepts, right? Oh, do not anger, do not worry. I think it's such an important element in the teachings, right? So therefore, for me also, healing takes place not just going like this, right? Because we cannot always do hands-on healing, right? If I drive a car, can I sit like this? No, of course not, right? If I speak to you, can I chant a mantra, chokare, 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 chokare? Of course not, right? If I talk to you and here I start to do the initiation, that would also be distracting. But I can rest my mind in the precepts. Or in other words, I can rest my mind in this beautiful, great, bright light of my true self. That makes sense? Now I become Reiki. So for me also, there is no idea of now I switch it on, now I switch it off. Now I switch it on, now I switch it off. Your Reiki, your true self, is always on. It's always bright. It's always there. This, for me, is just a tool to help us rediscover that we are that great bright light. Breathing in the hara with the Japanese meditation taught in the system of Reiki, Joshin Kokyoho. Oh, it helps me to be Reiki. The symbols and mantras helps me to quieten my mind as this morning, he just, I'm not sure, he left maybe. The mindfulness practice. What happens if I focus my mind on a symbol? I stay mindful. Instead of thinking about yesterday or tomorrow or pondering now, I stay mindful. Because what happened if I do a treatment on someone? La 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 la, I wonder what they have for afternoon snack. Maybe some chocolate. Where would my energy be? At the chocolate, right? So therefore, the symbols and the mantras are there for me to become mindful, because the more mindful I am, the more I lay bare my great bright light, the more my client can say, ooh, right? If I do a treatment on my client like this, full of my worry and fear and anger with a confused mind, or I do a treatment on my client like this, then this gives so much more possibilities, right? So another word for precepts also means instructions. They are instructing us how to do hands-on healing without anger, without worry, by being grateful. So even if my client says, Frans, this treatment was crap, I have to be grateful, right? And also, we have to be true to our way, or be true to your way and your true self. I like that because I teach a lot. And often people say, Frans, I want to teach like you. I said, no, you're not going to teach like me. You're going to teach like yourself. Because that teaching needs to become organic. Right? When we do hands-on healing, my hands are very different than your hands. Every person's hands are probably very different. So the way my hands fall on your body is very different than his hands fall on your body. And the way both of our hands fall on your body is different because your body looks different than her body. So ultimately, we need to go back to this true self, this beautiful bright light where everything just becomes organic from your light. Not from my light, but your light. So let me rephrase it again. the more I practice the system of Reiki, and the system of Reiki consists of hands-on healing, symbols and mantras, precepts, meditation, and the initiation, the more I lay bare my Reiki, my true self, the more compassion will flow out. The more light will flow out. The more energy will flow out. And we all know that the more we have been practicing, and for me, the word practicing is often people say, I practice Reiki, but they mean hands-on healing, right? For me, practicing means meditating daily on the precepts, doing the meditation practice like Joshin Kokyoho, hands-on healing on myself in a meditative way, chanting one of the mantras if you've done Reiki 2 or Reiki 3, and performing the initiation as almost like a ritual for healing for myself. So if I perform the initiation on someone, I need to do it also mindfully, so therefore it becomes a healing practice for myself. I like that Mikusui used this idea of a beautiful, great, bright light, because it's a great metaphor for teaching. It's a great metaphor for telling people, instead of saying, oh, it uses energy, they go like, what the hell, right? But if you connect to this beautiful, great, bright light, we all know it's that love, it's that compassion, it's that kindness, right? Another word of describing this beautiful, great, bright light is the precepts. Because it's only when we rediscover this beautiful, great, bright light, our true self, that there is no more anger, no more worry, that we are grateful, that we are true to our way in ourselves, and that we are compassionate to ourselves and others. That makes sense? So really, Mikusui was describing here already what people talk about in Reiki 3. He was saying this is really what we try to achieve. Be this great bright light. Often also we like to think about doing Reiki, right? But we're doing already so much. Aren't you often, I feel often tired from doing so much. Always busy doing things. Hi, Mom. Yeah, no, I'm a talk at the Reiki conference. And yeah, a bit boring. Crowd is terrible. We always keep doing things, right? But when we just be, we let ourselves just, we feel good when we do that, right? So for me also, what I started to discover, when I travel, I do classes, but I also do one-on-one sessions. And I try to accommodate a lot of people, because normally, say, if I go to New York, I might just be there for a week, and I'll be there once a year. And so people say, oh, can I have a treatment? So sometimes I might do 10 one-hour treatments in a day. Or I might give a class from 9:30 in the morning to 5 in the evening, and then I might do 2 treatments before and 2 treatments afterwards. And some people say, Frans, are you not tired? I said, I would be tired if I think I'm doing it. Now I'm doing it on you. Right? What also happens when I'm doing a treatment on you? There's me, there's the other person. It's a division. Right? Instead of, just being together. And we all know that when we just be together, I'm not sure who's married, or maybe you've got a lover, or maybe just a dog or an animal, and you sit next to each other. Sometimes there's rare moments when we can just be together, are the most profound often, right? Instead of kind of doing things. So maybe what I like to do between brackets, I'll put this here. Maybe that young lady over there, come on, come to the stage. Anita. No, I know Anita. I only met her for the first time a couple of months ago. Could you stand up again? Anita, everybody. Maybe put your feet flat on the ground.
Mine don't reach.
You don't know. We pull them. Okay, I'm going to do a couple of minutes, not even that, a little hands-on healing session on Anita. But this is a little bit tricky because, as we know, compassion or energy is sometimes very subtle, right? I'm going to do first a little session on Anita with my mind a bit distracted, thinking about tomorrow or those nice chocolates they have for after my talk. I'm not sure if they have, so don't blame me, right? Anita is going to set her intent that she receives whatever she needs. I am just going to set my intent. I'm just going to shine, okay? But my shining this time is just a little bit layered with my thinking about this nice chai latte and a chocolate later on, okay? And just see what you can observe. Now I'm going to, as much as possible, try to just be with Anita. Who could sense or feel the difference? Yeah? And maybe someone want to share some. Do we have the mic? Who could feel the difference? Maybe that lady in the back over there. Oh, that's a French lady, right? Bonjour, comment ça va? Could you stand up for me for a second so Tony knows who to...
Okay, the first time it was very mechanical.
Yeah.
It was like an automat.
Yeah.
And the second time it was almost like a beautiful dance.
Yeah.
It was flowing. You could feel beautiful energy, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else? There's a lady in the back, Tony. Could you stand up for me? Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm Amelia again. The first time, because you were we were talking about Reiki, right? So although it was mechanical, there were some waves and some flow of the energy, but it was not that shining and not that bright. But the second time, as you were sort of being with Anita and being with Reiki, I cannot even talk, because it was like I could see that thing is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it reached to the end of the room, and I could feel it.
Yeah.
So that was how it felt.
Yeah, good, thanks. So for me, as we can see already very easily, if my mind is distracted, if I watch television, think about tomorrow, yesterday, my energy is also being distracted. if I lay bare my true self, my great bright light, it can reach the end of the room. So what would be beautiful is that I'm doing one treatment here and we all receive a treatment. But we still have to be willing to step into that light, right? I come back, I will send Anita home, not home, but to a chair. How is that? Could you feel the difference? Yeah? So what could you feel? I'm coming close. I'm not going to kiss you, but then you can... No, whisper it in my ear then. No, you can't. Okay, so, and I think this is so important because we need that light to be spreading through the world. It's not just I'm doing healing on myself. Ultimately, there is no difference between self and others. One of the translations of show compassion to yourself and others is often translated, be kind to others. But let's face it, can we be kind to others if we're not kind to ourselves? Impossible, right? I cannot give you water if I don't have water. I cannot give you kindness if I have never really rediscovered it within myself. So therefore, the precepts really is about you and others and you. There is no division. So therefore, the more I go into that space of being really mindful, more that great bright light, lay it bare, then everybody can benefit from it. But you have to want it. You have to be standing in this light. Or in other words, within the word Reiki, from an old perspective, it means a shaman praying for rain. Right? Or we can say, in modern terms, we can say it's a practitioner setting their intent and the rain falls down. But normally, we all wear a bloody umbrella. This light is the light of our true self, which is nothing different than the light of the universe. What means we're always standing in this light. Right? Sometimes people say, I'm going to connect to Reiki. It comes from somewhere over there and bring it in. But you are Reiki, right? We cannot say, I'm not the universe. If we say Reiki, sometimes I ask that person, but Reiki, what do you think means Reiki? They say, universal energy or spiritual energy. I said, but universal energy is not just something what hangs here. You're right bang smack in the middle of it. Actually, you are it. That makes sense? So all we really have to do is remember that we are this universal energy and that it is always raining on us. But most of the time, we carry the umbrella of fear and worry and anger, resentment. We're not really being kind to ourselves. We're not even being true to our own way, right? So for me, the system of Reiki is slowly putting that umbrella down. Here it is. I'm receiving already healing. It's already there. So hands-on healing, meditation, the precepts, symbols and mantras, and the initiation is about remembering that it's always raining, it's always bright. There might come a time, and maybe you have experienced that, you lay in bed or you sit on your chair to do hands-on healing, you set your intent, and you go, it's already happening. Have you ever had that? Yeah. So the hands in the beginning is just a tool. It helps us to direct that energy to ourselves. It brings us inwards, less distracted from past, present, and future. It helps us to become more mindful. But there might come a time where we maybe can go like this. maybe in that space, we think, oh, there's even no need anymore to place my hands on myself because that light is everywhere. That makes sense? Of course, if we fall over, yeah, nice to put your hands somewhere, right? But as I said, we cannot always do hands-on healing when we walk in the street. We cannot always do hands-on healing on ourselves. We cannot always chant a mantra. We cannot always focus on a symbol. We cannot always do the initiation. But we can always, no matter what, if we go to the bathroom or we brush our teeth or we walk into the street, we can try as much as possible to walk in that space of bright light. Or in other words, to walk in that space of our true self. Or in other words, to walk in that space of compassion and love and kindness. Or in other words, to walk in a space of no anger, no worry, no fear, being grateful, being true to our way and our being, and being compassionate. Now, for me, the system of Reiki takes on a very different aspect, because now everything can be part of that. Animals, a blade of grass, another person who we don't know. We all know that maybe this afternoon or maybe tonight, you go like, oh, this party has been too much, I'm going to go downtown. And you walk downtown. And you feel a bit tired. And someone says, hey, nice butterfly shirt. And you go, oh, thanks. And suddenly we feel a little bit lighter, right? So for me, healing can take place in so many different forms. But ultimately, it takes place heart to heart, mind to mind. In Japanese, kokoro. Connecting from heart to heart, mind to mind. So as you could see, when I did my hands on Anita and I was distracted, my heart and mind were not in it. But if I put my heart and mind in it, it gets on a very different quality. That makes sense too? I would like to maybe do something else. Let me see if we can do this. Because for me, I love the system of Reiki. And as I say, I travel a lot. And I try as much as possible, very consciously, when I walk in the city or when I travel or wherever I am, to walk in that light. It's not easy because you have people pushing your buttons, right? Family, friends, strangers on the streets. But each time we go, okay, bring it back. Each time, bring it back. Each time, bring it back. So, for me, therefore, also, often be true to your way and your true self. Gyo hakame. Gyo can also be translated very simple as work. So often we say work diligently or work hard. It can also mean practice. But Gyo also means pure experience. Where does this pure experience come from? It comes from your true self. It comes from your inner great bright light. This is the true experience. It's not my experience, it's your experience, and your experience, and your experience. Because each person's experience is different. Right? Be true to your way and your being. But we can remember it each time. Okay. So for me, the practice of the system of Reiki is not half an hour in the morning or half an hour in the evening. It's infusing it with everything you do, infusing it in life, so that life becomes Reiki. Reiki becomes life. True self becomes life. Life becomes true self. Life becomes mindfulness. Mindfulness becomes life. And it doesn't mean that every day we sit there, om, right? But that every action we do, we come from a place of no anger, no worry, no fear, etc. Now you become Reiki. Now we don't have to do Reiki anymore. We can just be Reiki. That makes sense? Maybe that lady over there, yes, you know who I mean? Could you stand up for me? Yeah, there with the green top. You just turned around. Yes. Could you come over here? What's your name? Nancy. Nancy is fancy. Fancy Nancy. Nancy, would you like to sit in this chair? Nancy, what do you practice the system of Reiki?
I do, yeah.
Yeah?
Myself. Yeah.
That's great. Have you done Reiki 1, 2, 25, 601?
1 and 2.
Reiki 1 and 2. That's good. Okay, so, Nancy, you ready?
Yeah.
This is another tricky part because, as I said before, energy and healing and sometimes love or compassion is not always tangible, right? I think this is also why the system of Reiki over the years have become very ritualistic, because in our society we're so disconnected from ourselves due to having those layers or the umbrella that it needs to be very physical and ritualistic, else we don't believe it works. I'm going to ask you to set your intent that you want to heal yourself and that you receive whatever you need. Okay? For me, healing is about trust. So Nancy is trusting me, I'm trusting Nancy. As soon as there is a certain trust, I don't know Nancy, there's a certain trust that we can go into this great bright light. Because what happens when I take this lampshade away? How do we call that light? A naked light, right? It's not covered by any of these layers, any of these pretend things. So, in one way, when we're sitting here together in a minute, we're going to sit here naked. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. No, it's going to be okay. But I don't mean naked without clothes. It's naked without these layers. And if we look, one of the precepts often is also being translated as honest. I like honest. Because if we look honestly in our heart, it's really bloody difficult to be naked with ourselves, right? We often tell ourselves lies. It's true. How often don't we tell other people these lies? And then we get worried, then we get fearful, then we get angry. So being naked is not that easy. Showing yourself with all your vulnerability is not that easy. But we're going to give it a go, okay? So, as you could hear also, I'm asking Nancy to set the intent that she is going to heal herself. I'm not a healer. I'm merely shining the light. And Nancy can take from this light whatever she needs. I don't even know what she needs. Most of the time, I don't even know what I need, right? I thought in lunch, I need some chocolate, and now I have a chocolate headache. No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, this is true, right? Often, we don't even know what we need ourselves. So, again, I like that precepts being honest, because if I'm honestly look at myself, I have no idea what I need sometimes. And then I do it, and then 10 minutes later or the next day I regret it. So how the hell then do I know what another person needs? I would have no idea. But all I can therefore do is shine that light. Be that light. So I'd like you to put your feet flat on the ground and maybe just observe, okay? So Nancy, when I put my hand on your leg, just set your intent that you want to heal yourself and that you receive whatever you need. And just Just be there with me. Just forget all those strange people like Tony or Hillary. They're a bit crazy. Okay, you ready? And maybe everybody in the audience can set their intent that they receive whatever they need and that they want to heal themselves. Okay. Just take your own time. Can I have a mic? Oh, maybe you can do this first for me. No, you can stay there for a second. Just relax in that space. Who wants to share something? Who could sense or feel that for themselves? Yeah? Could you maybe that lady with the pink skirt? Could you maybe someone else? Okay, someone else?
Well, even before you invited everyone to feel it, I could actually feel lots of waves of energy coming towards.
Yeah.
Like a nice blanket of energy.
Because it's always there. It's already there. All we have to do is accept it. But most of the time we say, oh, now I'm doing it. Now I have to do it. No, it's already there. All we have to do is just be in that space. Get rid of the umbrella. Yeah.
I felt quite warm.
Yeah.
Lots of warmth.
So again, we could talk for hours about it. If we come closer to this light, we feel the warmth of compassion and kindness. Right? Tony, maybe, just so I don't have to kiss her and she might get shy. Oh, this lady in the back. Hang on, catch. This is good, Tony. After this, you lose like a ton.
I'll talk to him later.
I didn't hear that.
Okay, this is Emma. I didn't felt a good energy. I felt kind of bothering, and I tried to cover myself. That's what I felt.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks. So sometimes it's very difficult, right? It's very difficult to stand in the rain. It's not easy. What happens sometimes when we feel the rain? Oh, it hurts, right? Oh, it's wet. It's the same sometimes, thanks, Tony. When one lady just asked a question to Pamela Miles about, is it always Reiki is good? If I have this, and I fill it up with water, it's kind of only a little bit of water in it. Most of the time, at the bottom, there's some dirt. We often try to hide it, right? No, I'm fine. No, I'm great. No, right? What happens if I start to do hands-on healing? What happens when I do meditation? What happens when I practice yoga or Tai Chi? I go like this. What happens to the dirt? It comes to the surface. It starts to release. And that's not always that easy, because suddenly we look at our own shit, so to speak, and then we go like, oh, I want to go like this. And that's okay. This is why everybody has their own journey. We cannot always say, I'm going to stand in this light like this, because sometimes it can be too, ooh, right? Yeah. So sometimes we need to step back and say, oh, I only take a little bit. This is why ultimately we cannot say, I'm going to heal you, because I don't know really what the person needs. All we can do is just shine and let that person take from it whatever he or she needs. All right? Very important, and this is also why we cannot just suddenly switch on and be this great bright light. It would be, for most of us, maybe the rare person, but I think for most of us, it will be too confrontational. I'll give you an example. You sit here, nice, relaxed? Yeah, just stay there. No, you can't go back. You're my friend now. Do you want some water? Want to ring my mom and tell her it's all okay? I can give you a Reiki haircut? No. Yeah. Maybe, okay, before we... Is this on? Yeah. Maybe you can... How did that feel for you?
So as soon as you sat down, and actually before you put your hand on me, I actually was feeling it, and I actually forgot that I had to set my intention when you put your hand on me, and I just started to feel it, and I started to set my intention. So I felt it straight away. Yeah.
And how would you describe that feeling for you?
It was just really warm, extremely warm and calming.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me. Mm.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
So, thanks, Tony. But of course, we cannot always just be with a person. Sometimes we need to feel that touch, because touch is so important. We live in such a touch-starved society. I always say this in class. So I say, if I touch a woman, they think I want to sleep with him. If I touch a guy, I'm gay. If I touch myself, I'm a pervert. And soon we all be walking around like this. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Right? But it's true. It's crazy. A while ago, I was in, where was I? In Ann Arbor, what is near Detroit. And I was teaching a retreat in a retreat center. And the woman who was organizing the lunches, she was in her 60s, and she was walking a little bit like this, and said, oh, maybe on one of these occasions, you guys could do some hands-on healing on me. So, okay. So anyway, we were kind of just having a little break. I said, okay, come and sit down and we'll do some hands-on healing on you. And she had some shorts on, and everybody stood around, and we did a little exercise. And anyway, afterwards, I go like this on her leg. I said, oh, how did that go? And I said, oh, your legs are nicely shaved. She said, oh, I shaved them this morning. She said, but I haven't been touched for years. And the way she said it broke everybody's heart. Because in our society, we're so touch-starved. So sometimes just being is okay, but sometimes we need to touch. Right? It's the same when you're with your partner. Maybe you're with your wife, and your wife looks at you. And that's enough, right? But tomorrow, that might not be enough. And tomorrow, we just need to sit like this, and go, I love you, honey. Thank you. Right? So it's always kind of that balance between, but we can be in this great bright light. Right? But I come back to, why do most of us find it very difficult to step into this great bright light? Because it means change. It's hard to change. We get so stuck on the things we're comfortable with. So therefore, for me, I see also the system of Reiki as a lifelong practice, where it is always changing. As Paul was saying, as soon as you have a new epiphany, you shatter something. And that shattering is not easy. Sometimes we go, holy jeez, I had enough, right? And then maybe a year later you come back to it. So I always see it. I like the light metaphor, because I lived in India for 2 years. And for 1 year I lived in Darjeeling with my partner, Brahman. And we lived in this old house. And we had like a room that was about this big, and only one light hung down. And the wire went to the ceiling, and you could see it just traveling along the ceiling and along the wall, and kind of went into a PowerPoint. And I would be reading underneath this light because the room was always dark. And one day the light bulb, boing, and I take it out. It's a 40-watt light bulb. I go to the market and buy a 100-watt because I want to have the light spreading through the room. I stick it in, switch on the light, I make myself a cup of tea, and I come back and I go, I smell something burning. I'm a bit thick, I'm a bit slow, I'm not handy at all. And I look outside, because we always look outside, right? We never look inside. No, there's nothing wrong with me. So we always look outside. I did the same thing. I go outside. No, nothing wrong here. I come back in, and it smells even more of fire. And I go, what the heck? Where does this come from? And I look at the wire, and it's melting. Because suddenly this old wire is taking all this energy. And maybe for the people, when you've done some hands-on healing, either on yourself, or maybe you went very deeply into a meditation practice, sometimes you start to feel shaky, sometimes you start to sweat a lot, sometimes we have all these different side effects, because our mind, body, and energy needs to get adjusted to this open, great, bright light space. That makes sense? And therefore, we cannot always jump into it and say, hey, here is my 100-watt light, yay! Eyes popping out, steam out of my ears. This is why the system of Reiki is a lifelong practice. And then one day we can, now I can be Reiki, be in this great bright light. And in the beginning we might have just one glimpse of that. And we practice, and another glimpse, and another glimpse. But many glimpses all come together. And one day we might wake up in the middle of the night, and you go, I'm laying in and with this beautiful, great, bright light. I don't have to think about the precepts. I don't have to put my hands on myself. I don't have to say a mantra. It's already happening. And that ultimately then awakens, or actually reawakens, this dormant compassion, what is so needed in our world. And another thing before I finish, and then we have some questions. What I like about this light is that we see all these different lights here. 2 bright lights this way, this lamp here, there's some light shining there, some lights here. They're all individual lights, true? But can I now, standing here, say, that light finished here, that light finished there, and that light finished there? No. They all light up the room, and there's no division. So even that we're all this beautiful, great, bright light, at the same time, we're all interconnected. There's no separation. And therefore, there is possibility for healing to happen right now. Right this moment. Every single moment in your life, we're all interconnected. We've never been separated. Often we think about distance healing, but distance healing is about, oh, I'm standing here and it needs to go all the way over there. But actually, you and I, we are standing in the same light, that same soup. It's not that you're standing in a different universe than me, right? We're standing in the same universe. And the more we realize that, the more we realize that there is no distance. We are in this beautiful, open, expanded space, and therefore healing can take place 24 hours a day. Also means that we never have to feel lonely, because we're all interconnected. We're all part of the same family. Plants, animals, trees. That makes sense? Good. Anybody a question? Microphone. Any question will do. I don't know. What chocolate do you like?
Could we buy you some?
Can you buy me some? I can even give you their address. It is just around the corner. Is a really, I think it's called Kobo or something. Let me check what it is. Hang on. Oh, Cocoa. It's called Cocoa Black. It's really, it's all, if you, but you know the magic thing is, if I eat this chocolate, you taste it all. So this lady had a question.
Hi, I'm Anna, and I'm trying to practice do not worry about asking this question. Your light globe story resonated hugely with us. We, my friend Jenny and I are from Ballarat, and we, in our Reiki community days, have had a situation occur that we were blown away by, which was one of the people that we were working with completely had this past, continually seemed to be having past lifetime experiences that were very painful and distressing, almost like she was reliving these experiences, and we didn't know what to do. And so I just wanted to ask you, what would you do?
I mean, this is, sometimes it can happen. You have a client and they go through a painful thing. It depends. We all know, say your client starts to cry. I would let them cry. Because as soon as I say, would you like a would you like a tissue, what happens? They stop, right? So just let them, as long as and this is why we have to work on ourselves as practitioners to connect deep to this light. What is also this light? If I switch all the lights off here and I ask you to look for this computer here, this laptop, is it easy or difficult to find? It's difficult. If we switch on the light, is it easier or harder? Easier. So the more we connect to this great bright light, what do we get? We gain clarity. So the more as a practitioner, as a teacher, you connect to this light, the more clarity we have. What do I need to do with this person? If they cry and it's painful and they are okay with it, allow to take place, right? But we all know that sometimes crying can move into hysteria. Have you ever seen something like this? Or maybe you see it in a movie. I'm not a good actor. Who is the actor here? But do you know what I mean? If that happens, then we have to say, okay, come and sit up, have a bit of water, take a deep breath, bring them down to the hara. Let me check who I can... I need something specific. Else. Oh yeah, maybe the lady who asked the question. Come on. What's your name? Anna? Anna, come on stage. Anna is wearing a Gucci outfit, ladies and gentlemen. Anna, just relax. That's good. Do you mind if I lift you up?
Yes.
No, you're going to say no. Do you mind? No, it's going to be okay.
Right.
Relax. I'm going to lift you up. I'm going to put my hands underneath your armpits and lift you up. Okay? Okay? Now, Anna, I'd like you to place your mind off with the fairies. Imagine that you're somewhere off in the clouds. Was it easier or harder? Anna, now I'd like you to visualize that, just relax, it's going to be okay. The chainsaw trick comes in a minute. I'd like you to imagine that now you connect to your hara, just here, or your, whatever you call it, your belly button, and feel that energy going into the earth. Could you feel the difference?
Absolutely.
Yeah? So did Anna, in that second, quickly ran to the chocolate shop, ate all the chocolate so she gained more weight? No. What did she do? She changed her? She changed her mind, and her mind had an effect on her body and on her energy, right? So the more you are grounded here, something happens. Is that easier to deal with? Or if you're off with the fairies and something happens, is that easier to deal with?
Is that off with the fairies?
If you're more grounded, I could pick her up. It was harder for me to pick her up, right? So therefore also it will be harder for me to push you over in life. So if my client is having something and I'm not very grounded, my energy is all la, 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 scattered, right? Your client, you're going to be overwhelmed by it because that energy comes and you're boing, right? But now, through the practice, this is why in Japan and when the system of Reiki came to more to the West, and then in 1999, Hiroshi Doi went to Vancouver, and he said, oh, there's also a meditation practice of breathing in the hara, Joshin Kokyoho. That's there where it's taught in Reiki 1. It helps us to become more stable and grounded. That makes sense? Thank you. So, I didn't bring it with me. I travel always, for the people who know me, I travel around with a teaching tool, and it's called the Weeble Wobble. Weebles wobble, but don't fall. You can look it up, Google it, you can buy them on Amazon. It's a great teaching tool. You flick it, and the Weeble goes this way, but it always comes back up. And why does it come back up? Because the weight is at the bottom. All right? And now, this was another great example that energy and the body follow the mind. As soon as Anna changed her mind, her body had a different feel, and therefore her energy has a different feel. So therefore we can really quickly see with these kind of exercises that when we do a hands-on healing treatment on someone, or when we do hands-on healing on ourselves, or when we do sit with someone, or an initiation, or just be with someone, that our mind is so important. So I come back, the precepts are not talking about hands-on healing. They're not talking about a body posture. They're talking about the mind. So for me, the system of Reiki is about the mind or heart. Mind and heart is the same in Japanese. Maybe Yakuten-san can talk more about it. My Japanese is terrible. I know Kyoto and samurai and sushi, and that's about it. But this is all about the mind. It's how our mind and heart are, because that has an effect on our energy. This has an effect on our body. This has an effect on how we operate in daily life. This has an effect on my neighbors. This has an effect on my family. This has an effect on the person I meet in the street. This has an effect on the person I meet in the train station. Right? So therefore, the more I'm in that space, the more I am that great bright light, the more I rediscover that I'm Reiki, the more the world is becoming a more compassionate space. I think we have some time for some questions.
Indeed, yes. I had the pleasure and the honor to speak to you this morning, Frans. My name is Kathy.
Hello, Kathy.
Hello. Just letting you know, but the dark chocolate for me, I like dark chocolate.
I know. Can anybody just give a little piece to that lady?
No, thank you. Later on.
Later on. It's really good.
What I like, I'm not asking you a question, I'm giving you a statement. And what I like to say, what you've created in this room is a sense of fun and a sense of laughter. And I believe that that's what Reiki does to every single one of us. Let us be who we are, to have fun in our lives.
Yeah, I mean, this is, for me, be true. Thanks, Kathy, well said. I agree. Do not anger. Is an angry person walking like this? No. Is a worried person walking around like this? No. So let go of the anger and the worry. Be grateful for the good and the bad things, between brackets, because good and bad is really dependent on how we look at it, right? So when we be grateful for all things in life, and when we then going to be true to our way, our playfulness. If we lay this light bare, it's playful, right? The light moves about in life. We feel more lighter. We have all these ways of talking and saying, and it's right in our face. But most of the time we like to make it complicated. But it's just being playful. I think it's so important. I say this sometimes in class. Maybe I shouldn't do this, but I say this sometimes in class. So, sometimes I go to some teachers just to observe what people teach, and they're like, yes, no, we're going to... And they're all like really serious. And I said, well, then they go to their hotel room. Fuck! Because they're not really being true to their way. They're just trying to be spiritual, whatever that means, right? But spiritual really is spiritual freedom. It's not being stuck into a particular lineage or a particular tradition or a particular idea. It's being free. And I think this is so important, because when we're free and when we see other people in that freedom space, we're going to be more compassionate. Or in other words, if I see myself as a light, then I'm kind of letting go of my own limitations. Oh, Frans is a little bit blind. Frans has some strange things. Loves chocolate. Is not good. But if I just see myself as a light, all of these self imposed limitations fall away, right? So I become more compassionate to myself. If I see you as a beautiful bright light, skin color falls away, dress code falls away, speech falls away, I'm becoming more compassionate to other people. Therefore, we become more playful. For example, often show compassion to yourself and others is kindness, often translated as kindness. If you look at the kanji of kindness within these precepts, kanji has lots of hidden meanings. Within it is intimacy. Being intimate with yourself. Because as soon as I'm intimate with myself, I'm accepting myself for who I am. I'm going to be intimate with you. It's not I'm going to sit on his lap and polish his hair. No, I'm going to be intimate. I'm going to be kind. I'm being compassionate. I'm going to be one with that person. Or ultimately, also let go of the word oneness. Because what does oneness send? I am one with someone. I am one with someone. It's still that there is an observer who observed that there is something to be one with. It's very dualistic still. It's a step, but after a while we just need to just let go. Just be naked as much as possible in that bright light. Feel that rain. And that's it. Thank you.